Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida podcast. In this show, we are going to talk to leaders in the community, leaders of clubs, and interesting folks who live here in the villages to give perspectives of what is happening here in the villages. We hope to add a new episode most Fridays at 9 a.m. We have converted all of our shows to Buzzsprout. Of course, you can still listen to Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and about 20 other podcast platforms. Your favorite podcast player will still work. We are now a listener-supported podcast. You can become a supporter for only $3, or you can choose to pay more per month. Go to openforuminthevillages.com and click on Support in the black box. There will be a shout-out for supporters in episodes. This is a shout-out to supporters, Tweet Coleman, Dan Capellan, Ed Williams, Alvin Stenzel, and major supporter Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week.
This is Mike Roth. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us today. Today we have a special show. We have a guest, Bob Baker. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Mike, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on your awesome show.
Great. Bob, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your background before you started coming to the Villages?
Yeah, so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised, and visiting here for the second time in the Villages and just love the area here. And so a lot of my life has been immersed in the arts. And I've since a young age, I've been involved in both music and the written word. And those two things came together for the first time for me. And back in the late 80s, I started publishing a newspaper or magazine that covered the local music scene in St. Louis. I was an active musician in my hometown, and then I became a journalist of my own making and did that for 10 years. And then during that period, my first opportunity for my first book was published in like 1993. And over the 25 years since then, I've actually published 16 physical paperback books on a variety of topics, from music marketing to helping to inspire creative people to pursue their passions and build careers in the arts. And then we keep going to the present. I've done a lot of things. I've done traditional theater, and as you know, I also do improv comedy, which has been a passion of mine for many years. Which is how we met, because I attended one of your classes here in the Villages the other night, and that was fabulous. So I specialize in short form, what's called short form and musical improv. So that's basically what you see on Whose Lines It Anyway, show we all know and love. And then a recent sort of unexpected twist and turn in my life and my career was about 6 years ago. On my YouTube channel, I started posting like affirmations, guided meditations, but really specializing like morning affirmations to sort of uplift people. And the channel has become extremely popular. I think I'm at 338,000 subscribers, more than 1 million views a month across the entire channel. So I've just lived a life, very blessed to live a life immersed in the arts, and also kind of in the business of inspiring people to be their best selves.
Right. That's really good. When I was at Sandler, one of our workshops, it was called a Belief Building Workshop.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it was not the most popular of the workshops.
It was. The people didn't believe in the belief.
A lot of them didn't. But it was one of the few workshops that we actually incorporated music into the training.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. For some people, it worked very well. For other people, it was, like 2 hours of wasted time.
Yeah.
But that was okay. Before we get started, I always like to add a little joke for my grandson, Evan, into the show. So, Bob, what do you call a couple of chimpanzees sharing an Amazon account?
A couple of chimpanzees sharing an Amazon. I give up, Mike. What is that?
They're called primates.
Primates. I love it.
Yeah. Well, so, Bob, let's start by talking a little bit about your improv experience. How did you get started in improv?
So, I first did improv in actually 1985. I was the tender age of about 25. And there was a group of us. So I had just started doing theater in community college. And I'd actually taken 5 years off from high school before I even went to college, but got involved in taking acting classes and was involved in the theater department, and we did a show, I guess, that involved some amount of improv. We were also big fans of Saturday Night Live, and we knew that they had improv training through the Second City in Chicago and other things that had developed over the years. And one of the directors or the theater department decided to basically created for us like an advanced class on improv that we did one summer in the summer of 1985. And through that, we formed a performing troupe called the Way Off Broadway Players. It was inspired by the Not Ready for Primetime Players. And so we performed for like a year and a half, and just got that's how I got my feet wet in improv. But then I was out of it for many years. I formed another troupe with some theater friends, maybe in the later 90s. Then was out of it for a long time. And about 12 years ago, I always wanted to teach short form in musical improv, and I started teaching in St. Louis. Then really got immersed back into it. And we can talk about maybe my relationship with Laura Hall from Whose Line too, and how that kind of came about. If you'd like, and we go talk about that now. So
you say short form. A lot of folks don't realize that there are multiple forms of improv.
Right.
Okay, there's long form. There's a theatrical long form. Here in the Villages, one of the directors in drama named Dean Corbett produced a long form murder mystery.
Oh, wow.
As an improv. There was no script, just characterizations. And each night of the performance, there was a different villain who performed the murder.
Ooh.
And the audience didn't know till the end who the detective was going to accuse and convict of being the murderer.
Yeah, a lot of those murder mystery dinner theater things. The actors, they have a structure, they have characters that they play, but a lot of what happens is improvised. So yeah, maybe we should clarify for folks that are that familiar with it. So if you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, whether it was the Drew Carey version or the newer version with Aisha Tyler as the host, that's pretty much short form. They're short games.
Right, short games. Maybe everything is 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah,
some of them are shorter than that.
And basically, what I love about short form is that the audience is engaged throughout an entire show. So, whenever you do a new game, you're getting a new suggestion from the audience, and then you're working that into whatever that particular game or scene is.
Have you ever done a long form herald?
I've only dabbled in long form. So yeah, so long form, for those who don't know, is you get, whether it's a herald is like one of the early, it was developed by a guy named Del Close, I think in the 60s, along with Sharna Halpern. And basically you get, as a group of performers, they get one word at the beginning, and then they go for like 20 minutes just doing a series of scenes that has a structure. And I've seen a lot of bad long form. If it's not done well, it's like a long stretch of,
I think it's terribly difficult, and we haven't attempted it in our group.
It's very challenging, and when it doesn't go well, but I've seen some good long form too. So it really depends on the players and that particular,
the caliber of the players, the confidence they have in each other.
Right.
And the luck of the draw of what that first word is going to be from the audience.
Yeah, and what they discover, how they use the word. Yeah.
Right.
But I like short form because you're always mixing it up, and if one game is not going well, you can bail on it, or you end that. There's another game with a different structure, right?
Well, we do a show like the one that's coming up in November. We're going to have someplace between 17 and 22 scenes ready.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's a lot, yeah.
Well, they're all planned for 2 or 3 minutes. Someplace, at least 15 of them will get on stage. But I'm sitting there as the MC, and I've got a long list. And if a scene is going badly, it's supposed to last for 4 minutes. It's going badly at the end of 1 minute. They're going to get the bell, and we're going to go on to the next scene.
The next scene, yeah.
Or sometimes we get a great suggestion from the audience, and a scene that's supposed to go 2 minutes is going to go 4 minutes.
If it's going well, let it run, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's dragging down a lot of laughs.
Yeah, and that is the challenge. But haven't you found that audiences are very sympathetic to knowing that the players are making this up on the spot? And sometimes even if there's a mistake or somebody stumbles over their words, you can actually use that as fodder for humor. Mm-hmm. And audiences quite often the mistakes get bigger laughs than those clever things that
Yeah. You never know what's going to go well. We did a scene called Eulogy for a Dead Ant.
Oh, yeah.
And the we put an attorney in as the person who was crying and grieving for the dead aunt. And it turned out to be hysterically funny.
Right.
Okay. One of our players, Rick, was playing the dead aunt.
Laying on the
lying
chair.
on the table.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And he didn't have any lines. He was supposed to be just a prop.
Right.
But he can't work like that. And he ended the scene. He got up as the dead aunt and said something that was the blackout line.
Oh my God, that would be funny to save it for that last piece. We do something called superhero eulogy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you get a very strange superpower and then a name for the superhero, and it could be weird, maybe Spitball Man or something, you know.
Right.
And then you have different people from that superhero's life come up and tell their story. There's the childhood friend, the coworker, the lover, the arch enemy, and it's really funny how you can turn Spitball Man into all these, he was a great friend in the classroom where he would hit my enemies with spitball or whatever.
With spitballs.
Yes, exactly. So there's just so many games and there's so many iterations of them in different cities.
That's
and
right.
Names,
The names change.
Yes.
We have a game that we play called Pickup Lines. And that's where we take lines from the audience on 3x5 cards, fold them up and throw them on the floor in front of the players.
Right.
And they have to bend down and pick up a card. Of course, that limits which players can be in that scene.
Ones that can bend over, right?
Yeah. And then get back up again safely.
Right. We call that blind line. Again, every city has, I think it was originally called sentences, but that game works so well in so many levels. And to avoid the bending over, we actually put them in like a bucket and put it on a stool. So we can just reach into it.
Okay. As players get older, you have to have some improvisational way to make it still work.
Right. But that way, it's great because the players are in the middle of saying something, and as they're searching for their line, they reach in and read that random line, and it's almost like a no fail because no matter what you say, people are going to laugh at it, and everyone in the audience is like on the edge of their seat, going, "Are they going to use my line?" Right.
Right.
And so that's one of my a crowd favorite too. One of my favorites to play.
Yeah. When we play that game, we give the players an option to take the card out. And if they don't like it, rip the card up and throw it away and pick another.
I just think, go ahead and use it, and then you have to justify why that makes sense in that moment, right? Yeah.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Exactly.
Great. Let's take a moment and hear from our major supporter, Dr. Craig Curtis, with an Alzheimer's tip. Dr. Curtis, how important is it for people to keep their brain sharp?
It's extremely important. So we all lose a little bit of our cognitive abilities as we age. Mm-hmm. Everyone's brain starts shrinking in our 50s. However, we can still maintain good cognitive health into old age by making a few good daily choices, including keeping your brain active, crossword puzzles, Sudoku. Just getting out and socializing is good for the brain.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Curtis.
You're welcome.
And I'm back here with Bob Baker. Bob, let's talk about your experience on the set of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, maybe I should just real quickly how that came about. And so I been a big fan of Whose Lines. I already mentioned it several times here in our little chat. And in about 2014, Laura Hall, who was the piano player, the music director for the show, for all the American run of the show, her and her husband Rick were coming to St. Louis to teach a musical improv workshop. I saw that, signed up immediately. Was like a total fanboy when I arrived. Like, oh my God, it's Laura Hall. And we did a class, and then we actually did a show that night with a student showcase. So that was a wonderful experience. Then I reached back out to her a few months later, and I have a podcast. I've had a number of podcasts over the years, and I invited her to be a guest on my podcast, which that connected us a little bit more. Led to a conversation about why she didn't have a book out on musical improv. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, I want to independently publish one, and I don't know really how to go about doing that. People keep asking me. I said, well, I've done that a lot. And I know music. I know improv. And because what I didn't mention maybe is, I'm a guitar player, singer, songwriter, played in tons of bands over the years and continue to perform and write music with my wife, Pookie Lee. But anyway, so Laura and I...
You're what we call a wordsmith.
A wordsmith? Yes.
Yes. We tend to start most of our large shows with a parody song.
Okay.
Written by one of our two wordsmiths in the group.
Awesome.
And, they'll pick a song like Run Around Sue. Mm-hmm. And he changed that song to Roundabout Guy.
Oh, keep away from Roundabout Guy.
Right.
Hey. I've written a few parodies of my own over the years. Yeah, it's like a la Weird Al, right? But anyway, in 2015, Laura and I started writing this book together, and it came out in 2016, I believe. But at the halfway point of writing the book together, they were doing a series of tapings for Whose Line, and I flew out to LA, and she got me into 2 of them. And just as an FYI, they recently actually recorded their final episodes. So they're finally, even though they're going to be broadcasting the episodes that they recorded recently over this past winter, Whose Line is apparently coming to an end after a 20-year run or whatever.
They're not producing any more new episodes.
Correct, yeah. But I luckily went to... And when they do record them, what I discovered working with Laura and getting the inside scoop is that they'll set up rent a theater, set up the stage and the audience and all that, the desk and the chairs and the carpet and all that. And they'll do like 5 nights of taping within a 1 or 2 week period. Mm-hmm. Each night of taping is like 5 hours. It's a long night for the audience. Mm-hmm. And so the first night I sat in the audience because I wanted to get that experience. Then I went back and sat in the VIP room, which mm-hmm. is where like friends and family of the cast members sit. So both experiences were equally awesome. But So it was just great to be there. Like it was going to visiting the mothership, mm-hmm. this thing that I admired from afar all these years. What was interesting is that they just record just tons of games, and out of a 5-hour taping in a single night, they might get 4 shows out of that. And I think I shared with you the other night I know you like the game Scenes from a Hat, right?
Love it. We always attempt to include that in the show.
Where they pull out a scenario and then they go up. So I remember when they did the Scenes from a Hat segment, at the taping, it lasted like 20 minutes. I mean, it was like they just kept on going one after another. And there were these long pauses where the guys or the actors were on the side, and Aisha's going, "You got anything else for this one?" He goes, "Hang on, I got one." And then they come out and so there's these long, like I say, you drive a truck through these pauses. But when they edit it all together,
it seems instantaneous.
Yeah, it's boom, 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 boom. And
when we do it on stage live, we're doing it instantaneous.
Right, and they did a lot of that. So don't get me wrong. They were just amazing what they could do in real time. But it was very eye opening for me how they put that show together, and it also made me realize doing an improv show for TV is different than from a live audience. So mm-hmm. Obviously you wouldn't do that in a live show, but they have to keep it snappy and moving along and only have the highlights, But even not to take anything away from them, because they were still, the stuff they came up with in the moment was just amazing. And even when they were doing like hoedown, like some of the musical stuff.
Yeah, the musical stuff.
And there were times when Wayne Brady or somebody would walk forward and sing a line and botch it, and he would step back and give it another shot. But when he came up, he was using a different lyrics. So he didn't rely on something that he had already pre-planned. Mm-hmm. They really wanted to be in the moment, and they edit that together too. So yeah, that was just a great experience seeing how that was all done, and just actually being there to watch a taping.
Right. I hate to think about the effort to cut apart 5 hours into 4 shows.
Oh, I'm sure that's a lot, yeah.
I've been known to do video editing, and although in a way I like it, but I also in a way hate it.
Right.
I'm supposed to cut. We have the video of the February show that we did this year, and it's 137 minutes. I'm supposed to cut that down into a 5-minute preview reel. Wow, yeah. It's tough.
I'm sure, and I don't know a whole lot about like Hollywood and all that, but I'm guessing compared to other dramas or productions, I'm sure the production, be able to do that, get 4 shows out of a 5-hour taping is probably a lower cost show than many others, So it's probably why it ran for so many years,
Hey, it's a great methodology when you have great performers, and they do have some great performers like Wayne Brady and Colin.
Yeah, I meet Colin Mockery a couple of times. Brad Sherwood too.
Yeah,
I
Brad.
met him briefly. And then there's Ryan Stiles, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just one. Yeah, Whose Line just did a wonderful service that it brought improv into the public consciousness. Which so usually and now like a lot of people have taken improv classes. They have them in high schools. I'm really glad to see that it's becoming more common.
Right.
Because it's so many I'm sure you found this too, Mike. There's so many life skills you could learn from learning improv.
Right.
You know,
right.
Listening, being in the moment, not being attached to an outcome.
And there's something to learn all the time. I don't know if you're aware of the Sarasota Improv Festival.
No.
Coming up on July 22nd.
That was not aware.
21st and 2nd and 3rd down in Sarasota. A number of us from the Improv. We now have a new name for the club. It's now the Villages Improv Club. We had to get special permission from the Villages to say Villages in the title. Nice. So our legal name is still Improvisational Theater Club of the Villages, but we are advertised now as the Villages Improv Club.
Officially sanctioned. Yeah.
Well, officially sanctioned to use
the name.
The name The Villages.
Okay.
And we had to sign a special release to do that.
Wow. Well, I'm blessed. I'm glad that I found you, Mike, and you have a great group. I encourage anyone to, if you could use a few more folks to come and join in the fun to attend.
It's a lot of fun.
Those
on a Monday night. We meet the first 4 Mondays of the month at Rohan Recreation Center, and you can come as a pure audience member and sit in the back of the room and laugh and carry on. That's just great for us. And we also are always looking for new players, people who have no experience, novices, people who have some experience, and advanced players. We're looking for everybody to build the club up.
Awesome. I'm happy to be. I'll be back while we're here in the Villages for the next couple of weeks.
Right. And next Monday, I've invited you back to the Improv to talk about improvisational music.
Yeah, I'll bring my guitar and I'll lead as many games as you would like. So we'll make up some lyrics on the spot.
Great. That's going to be the 22nd of May.
So this will air before that, I assume. Maybe maybe it will.
Maybe.
If not, you're finding out about what you're going to miss out on.
That's right.
Missed out on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Great. So, Bob, thanks for being on this show. And in our next episode, we're going to be talking about your experience with Laura Hall and writing the book on improv music. Is that fair?
Sounds great.
Great. Thanks for being with us today, Bob.
You bet. My pleasure.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2023, all rights reserved.